Hello and welcome to another chat with Matt. Great to have you come back and join us today. Now, this is being recorded on the 12th of June 2020. We are still in a period of great change. And in great change, we need inspirational leaders. And I'm delighted today to be joined by one of our own, Mark Smith, who's going to talk to us about inspirational leadership. So Mark, good morning, as it is for us.
Thank you.
How are you today?
Yeah, I'm good. I had a run this morning, so always feel good after a run. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll get straight into it. Give me your perspective on what's going on in the business environment at the moment.
Well, Matt, as you correctly said, it's a huge change and flux situation at the moment. And I think because of the lockdown situation and the enormous pressure on businesses, leaders are having to dig deep and find within themselves the ability to take people along with them. And they're people who are not in a situation of homeostasis. They're in a situation of challenge. They're in a situation of uncertainty and a lot of flux and change.
Yeah, I think every day we see it in the media, don't we? That we're looking for what the next stage is going to be in this process, if indeed it is a process. Yeah. So changes is constant changes every day, and the uncertainty flows. So the theme that we're talking about today is about inspirational leadership, and it's an area that I know that you are an expert in. So tell me about inspirational leadership and why it really is so important today.
I was thinking about this particular interview earlier on today, and it really occurs to me that in order for a leader to be inspiring, they need to be themselves inspired. Right. So if you think of, I Have a Dream, Martin Luther King, that man was so inspired. He was really on the money. I mean, even thinking about him, I get goosebumps thinking about that speech.
Yeah.
I saw Nelson Mandela speak when he was just released, and I was so moved by that because he was so engaged and so inspired in what he was doing. He was so committed and connected that I couldn't help wanting to go along with him.
So what does it take to become an inspirational leader?
There are, for me, a number of very specific traits which certain leaders show, and they're unique to those leaders. So, for example, if you look at Barack Obama, he was unflappable under enormous pressure. And that wasn't something which he was born with. He grew and developed that particular skill through having to focus on and be able to conquer large complex problems. And he said that he focused on and realized that instead of worrying about his performance of the task, he needed to be engaged and focused on the task itself. So focusing on that task enabled him to demonstrate the results. And as a consequence of that, he was inspiring.
And if you were to give a piece of advice, what one or two things would you recommend that they focus on to achieve that?
It's not about me. So, I mean, I could be citing many examples of leaders who have shown that their focus is on being a servant leader and looking for how their people are able to manage and perform in adverse circumstances. So if you build relationships with people, gain their trust, and certainly allow them to be real and authentic and express what their challenges are and support them to be better, then essentially you're creating a situation of a conductor and an orchestra where you're focusing on them and how they can be in tune rather than on yourself.
And to give them a level of autonomy in what they do and give them some freedom to act and be creative, right?
Yeah, and trust is a huge thing. I think a lot of what I've experienced in working with organizations and local government and those kinds of things is a lot of people feel as if they are not trusted by their leaders. And what happens is that they then limit their performance because of that fear and that insecurity. Whereas if we as leaders are able to reverse that, what will happen automatically is that people will rise to the challenge.
Yeah, I think trust is vital in what we do, particularly now when you've got people working remotely. We're not face to face with people as often, and people are doing great work. They're doing They're doing what they do during the day, but we're not there to see that. So we have to trust that people deliver on the outcomes that they do. And based on what you're saying there, I saw a quote from Elon Musk just last weekend with regards to the SpaceX launch. And what he said was, if the launch goes well, it's all down to the engineers. If it fails, it's all down to me.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts on that from a leadership perspective?
Yeah, there's the burden of leadership, right? The mantle that we carry. And I think leaders who have inspired me have been able to carry that lightly, as in not show the burden, not necessarily demonstrate how that is potentially weighing on them, but to be able to, I'm thinking of a specific man who's a mentor of mine, and how he was able to lightly carry that leadership mantle whilst obviously under an enormous amount of pressure, yet didn't let that come through, so that we felt enabled, we felt inspired, we felt able to conquer and do things which were pretty damn difficult. And then obviously he'll, and I've spoken to him about this, he'll go and then decompress with his mentor and other people in his kind of upline, as it were, to help him to deal with the fallout.
So shoulder the responsibility of leadership.
Yeah.
Build high levels of trust in your people. Speak inspirationally. Speak with passion, with great integrity and high levels of communication. What have I missed?
Well, yeah, you said speak with. For me, it's about being authentic, and being and embodying what it is that you're saying. So it's, there's a level of integrity in that, not trying to convince somebody that you are something which you're not, but to genuinely embody it. And then lastly, that accountability. So you said, if it goes wrong, Elon Musk said, then it's up to me. It's absolute accountability, because that's the role of a leader. There's absolute strength in that accountability, and also the willingness to be humble and potentially somewhat vulnerable as well, in that things can go wrong. This is not putting up a front. I think people really can see through that kind of leadership, and we've seen it in the world. We've seen it for many years, how leaders' lives are short-lived because of that falsity.
Fascinating stuff, Mark. Thank you. So just as we come to the end of our time together today, always interested to know about you, what you're doing when you're not busy doing your work for Mentor. What keeps you busy?
Yes. my work with Mentor keeps me busy. Yeah. So for me, Matt, it's about balance. I'm in lockdown here in the UK. My wife's in South Africa. I was due to be in the US. So I'm feeling a bit dislodged. So what has been really useful for me has been connecting and building relationships virtually. I speak to my children every Sunday. We have an appointment where we all connect. I've got different sort of family groups that I connect with, and keep being in those conversations and really putting any other distractions out of the way, and really being with the people who matter most to me, and then being of service to my parents, and they're here, so I'm supporting them in helping them to maintain a positive mental attitude, really.
Yeah, I mean, a great sense there, and I know you well. A great sense of it being all about the people, which is something that we've really learned through 2020. The importance of people, the importance of relationships. Picking up the phone and just saying, "How are you?" I know I always start these calls with that, but I just think it's really important, and you've just explained that from your perspective as well.
Yeah, thank you.
So Mark, thank you for taking the time out. We appreciate it. I hope those of you watching and listening have found this useful. Our goal is to give you things that you can use, give you insights that you can take. Then the time is well spent. Go to mentorgroup.co.uk. Blogs that we're writing. In fact, there'll be an inspirational leadership blog written by Mark coming onto the website soon. Follow us on LinkedIn. And finally, Mark, thank you for your time. Those of you watching and listening, thank you for yours. I see you on another chat for Matt very, very soon. Thank you.